Good afternoon. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak.
And you can pull your mic stand if you would like.
Yes, down to my short level. And I also want to thank you all, each and every one of you, for your service to the county. Now, this is the first time I've ever brought a thumb drive in for a...
Could you give us your name and address, please?
Oh, yes. My name is Judy Rose Seibert. I live in Saddle Ridge. Do you want the street number?
Please.
Yeah, 22463 Ocala Way in Lewis, and I'm in Saddle Ridge. I wasn't confident of the loading of the thumb drive, so I did print out packets for you guys. There's one for the record as well, so you can pass those down so that if anybody wants to take a note on anything, it's there. And at the same time, I will hand in our petition from our community. It also has some signatures from District 5. There are 119 signatures on that petition. Okay. I know that planning and zoning likes to know a little bit about a person, their expertise, so I will tell you that my BS is in biology. My major area of study was botany. I taught a woody plant identification for the USDA Graduate School. I worked for the National Park Service identifying trees. I also identified plant and animal species for a stewardship master plan for a Nature Conservancy property in Maryland. And I was a pesticide inspector for the District of Columbia. So this first slide, you've seen the broader view of the area, but let's see if I can write on here. So here is the forest area that we are concerned about. And the width of this forest here is about 450 feet, according to the site plan. And as has been mentioned by the applicant, it is contiguous with Hetty Fisher Pond. According to the PLUS review, this is all part of the Delaware Ecological Network and the Love Creek Natural Area. And the preliminary plat, let's see, I used the eraser. Oh, what fun. Okay, I'm going to erase that. In their preliminary plat, about a 300-foot swath would be cut. Oh, let me do this again. Here through the forest all the way down to, I was very glad to hear the applicant say that this area right here would be retained as a forested buffer, because that is one of our requests for condition of approval. On the plat, it's indicated only as a landscape buffer, and those original forest trees need to be retained in order to protect the existing mature trees on the Saddle Ridge site. It's interesting that in the planning and zoning presentation by the applicant, they referenced that there was no habitat for monarch butterflies on site. Since then, of course, monarchs have become federally endangered. There are monarch butterflies here in Saddle Ridge along this edge of the forest, and also around our conservation wetland, which is here. And it's entirely possible that there would be a monarch habitat here along the edge of this forest, except for, of course, that this is in cropland here, and it would be standard agricultural practice to spray pesticides here to kill any milkweed that might be growing there. And that would be the monarch butterfly habitat. So I'm here today representing Saddle Ridge and asking the council to create a win-win solution that can allow the development of the cropland portion of this site while following the comp plan chapter 4 guidelines for conservation and the DEDNREC guidelines given in the PLUS review to preserve the forest. And Also, this is the request of 19 people who have signed our petition. Let's see. Oh, here's the clicker. All right. So I would like to say that both Mr. Hutt and the engineer, is it Lardner, last name, have actually misrepresented the edge of the forest. This is one of their plats. This is a very preliminary plat that was with the Plus application, but here is where they have shown the edge of the forest to be. And according to the Langs, I've spoken with Mr. and Mrs. Lang several times, their easement runs along the edge of the forest out to Route 24. So they indicated it was like down here or even like down here. That is not accurate, according to their plats. Let's see. Oh, you can see some tiny dots down here. I'm going to make them a little bigger. Whoops, that's not quite the right place. But these are mature trees existing on the Saddle Ridge buffer. These two in particular are large diameter trees. One of them, diameter at breast height, is 26 inches. We'd measured the drip line of this tree was measured onto the Saddle Ridge side of the property. We did not go onto the Townsend property to measure how far the drip line extended there. But this tree, its drip line extends 35 feet. So if it were to extend 35 feet, and this one I think is 33, in order to protect these trees, the forest would need to go like this. These trees here, some ponderosa pines, are smaller, and their drip lines don't extend as far. But this 20-foot would need to be maintained as landscaped, as forested buffer. Okay. All right. So the applicant has said that the application is in compliance with the comprehensive plan, but I would maintain that it is not. It's in compliance perhaps with chapters 4 and 8, but not with chapter 5 of the comprehensive plan. And the reason I moved here 3 years ago is because of Sussex County's unique physical character and its aesthetic appeal. The wildlife, I'm a bird watcher, and all of this undeveloped assets that we have here in Sussex County are really important for the economic vitality of the county, and we need to preserve them to continue to attract tourists and homeowners to the area. There should be, according to the comprehensive plan, a combination of land use preservation and planning practices to minimize the impact on the development on the natural resources. This is from the Plus review. One of its things it says here is, where possible, design the site to avoid the removal of contiguous tracts of forests. So here, their plan divides that forest tract in half, and fragmented forest is not nearly as environmentally valuable as contiguous forest. Also, here's just where it's listed, that it's part of the ecological network of Delaware, and that also specifies that forest disturbances on the site could jeopardize habitat beyond the parcel boundary, and that forest areas in this network should be you should avoid removing any of them to the greatest extent possible. And this is also on here, the status of these rare and threatened or endangered species. And can you see that this says E here? So the eastern tiger salamander is not rare as Mr. Linné spoke, but is indeed endangered in Delaware. So, also this, I live in the area. There is an state endangered American kestrel, which does frequent this area, and which I have photographed and put into the Cornell, let's see, I forget what it's called, the occurrence of this bird in this area. And it does use woodpecker holes in mature trees in order to have its nest. And it will not survive in this area if all the mature trees are removed. All right. Oh, actually, did I want to say anything there? Oh, I also do know that each of you received an email from Chris Basin, formerly Director of Center for Inland Bays, about the importance of the continuity of the forest and how it could impact, I believe he says in that letter, how it could impact Hetty Fisher Pond. All right. So, one of the things on the PLUS application is that the applicant can sign that no one from the state can enter the property to assess the property. And one of the suggestions from DENREC is that someone go onto the site to determine if there is a mature forest here. It was noted in the 1937 aerial photographs, which are the earliest aerial photographs of the area, and that is in the PLUS review. Anyway, so the applicant did not allow anyone to go onto any state person to go onto the site to look for specimen trees or to determine the amount of mature forest. So I am providing you here with a vision of what the mature forest looks like. This is one of my neighbors, the white oak standing behind him. It's a mature white oak, and he is standing about 8 feet in front of the property line. He's 6 feet tall. This is another neighbor, also 6 feet tall. He is standing on that property line this time, so it gives you a better measure of how tall the trees are. Here we have American holly, which is the Delaware state tree. These are mature white oaks, and white oaks are much more rare than red oaks in the forest. Here's another view. Again, the white oaks, loblolly, and red cedar here. So, giving you a view, and to further give you a view into the forest, I am standing on the property line here, and we see ponderosa pine, white oak. I'm not sure. I think these are red oaks. I don't remember, and hickory here. So, and this. I did not go onto the property to measure the diameter of any trees on the Townsend property, but compared to the trees on our side, this tree appears larger than a 22-foot diameter, and that would be, it's probably about 100 years old, according to the growth factor for that diameter tree. It's 4 years for every inch of diameter. Okay, another view of those trees, and a little better view of this larger diameter tree, and a better look at the hickory there. Let's see. So As I said earlier, we are concerned, there should be one more tree marked here, about these 5 trees, that this is a blow-up of the site plan, and where these 2 extra blocks jut down and bisect the forest here all the way down to here in the property line. So, let's see. So, because we were concerned about the health of our trees and we don't want them to look like Arbor Lynn, we consulted a master arborist, Jeremy Hager. He's from Ocean View. He sent us these guidelines. One of the things is about tree stability, has to do more with its overall root spread than root depth. Tree roots can often be 2 to 3 times the height of the tree. And in addition, if there's soil addition or loss during construction, 2 inches of added or removed soil can kill the tree. Soil compaction from construction activity is almost always deadly 1 to 5 years after the compaction if it's not mitigated. And he specifies that you should never prune the roots within 3 to 5 times the diameter of the trunk. Usually that's only for a partial amount of the drip line, and because you're risking the failure of the tree and its stability. And he says ideally you would only sever roots that are outside of the drip line of the tree. And I love this little statement of his. This is particularly true for older trees, as much like humans, older specimens are not very tolerant of change. So I just thought that was amusing. All right, now I don't mean to insult your intelligence, but I don't know if you know what a drip line is, so I included this illustration. You know, the edge of the canopy, that's the drip line. And I like this illustration because it shows how far out beyond the drip line the roots go. And this is from the University of Delaware, their design and construction technical guidelines. It shows how fencing should be installed around the drip line of the tree to prevent root disturbance and also to prevent compaction of the soil by construction equipment. Now, one thing I failed to put on our Saddle Ridge petition is that we would, if the bulldozing goes anywhere close to the drip line of our trees, that we request as a condition of approval that there be fencing around the drip line of our trees. And I have put that in a separate little request from me, which I will hand in momentarily. This is a list of the largest trees in the Saddle Ridge Forest Buffer with their diameters, their distance located inside the property line, so that, and the distance from the trunk to the drip line on the Saddle Ridge side. This, and then calculated from Jeremy Hager's calculations, this is the minimum distance from the trunk for root disturbance. And then using all these factors, we can calculate the distance the drip line extends onto the Howeth property. You see these 2 trees here, 33, 35 inches. And the absolute maximum or closest to the trunk that you can disturb a tree, or what's called the minimum root disturbance, how far that extends into the Howeth property. Okay, and there are numerous other smaller diameter trees present in, we only have a very small forested buffer that's actually just really in that portion of the property where those townhouses would come down. Okay, let's see. Oh, so here's our petition. It basically repeats what I've been going through. We hope that the county council can foster a win-win solution to allow new development while following all the guidelines of the comprehensive plan and plus recommendations for various properties. We support the right of Townsend Jacklingo Asset Management to develop their parcel, but ask for the minimization of impact on natural resources as set forth in the Comprehensive Plan, Chapter 5. I don't need to read that for you, but really preserving the aesthetic quality of the county is important. And this is an opportunity for the council to grant higher density development on the cropland portion of the property, while at the same time preserving all, hopefully, of the mature forest, or as much as possible. And again, this talks about the 1937 aerial photographs, which is documented in the PLUS review. And DENREC is our expert on natural resources. It's hard for the public to get experts to come and testify because, like Center for Inland Bays, Deltec, they all receive county money. They can't come and testify. However, when I spoke to what's her name? Beth Crumline of DENREC, she said, we design these PLUS reviews for planning and zoning, for the county council, and for the public to use in the hearings, because this is our expert guidance about this particular property. So down here, these are our specific requests. That you put conditions on approval on CZ 1949 and CU 2304, or not grant the modification of the future land use map. There's a list of requests in descending order of consequence. And the first, of course, is that only the cropland portion of the property be used for development, and that 100% of the existing forest be preserved in perpetuity. The existing site plan, as was mentioned, has a 3.9 units per acre, and still with this MR density, they could have up to 8 units per acre. So it's possible that they could still have the same number of units. They could still have the same financial gain from this project, but allow for the preservation of forest. And then next, those 2 blocks of townhomes that go down into close to Saddle Ridge, our next request would be that those be eliminated, or that some of the other townhomes closest to the Saddle Ridge be eliminated, and at an absolute minimum that this 20-foot buffer be specified to be a buffer of existing forest and not a landscape buffer. So this is a copy of our petition and 119 signatures. We do not want our trees to look like Arbor Lynn. This is a picture of Arbor Lynn. Here you can see a house. These trees were disturbed within their drip lines, not just within that 3 to 5 diameters of their of the trunk size. So, and these trees are dying back. This kind of growth along the trunk of the tree, while you have bare branches up here, is an indication that a tree is dying. So the the homeowners association here is going to be saddled with the costs of probably removing these trees, because they're in a few years they're going to be dangerous. Here's another site of a photo of Arbor Lynn, and one last photo. Nice dead area in that tree there. I had one with a dead tree. I don't know what happened to that one. Anyway, I have one other request for the council. This is my personal request that I already mentioned my personal request about fencing being placed around any Saddle Ridge trees that might be whose drip lines might be affected by the construction activities on the parcel. My second request is that for all the conditional use applications that the county council approves, which have stormwater management ponds, that a condition of approval be that the stormwater management ponds be their verges or their edges be planted with native species, which is a recommendation from DNREC, but also those native species need to include milkweed species to provide habitat for federally endangered monarch butterflies. So that would be common milkweed, swamp milkweed, and butterfly weed. Those are all the native host plants. So I hope that you might do that, and that you might also talk to your P&Z commissioners and get them to make that as conditions of approval. Thank you so much for your time and attention, and I will hand this in here.
Okay, thank you. Okay, is there anyone else